Hello everybody, Catchy1383 with Catchy Gaming with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gameplay journal number 8. So basically, Cosmo Canyon, and honestly this one's going to be a little on the short side, hopefully. I will try and keep it short. So I don't actually have too much footage of the actual canyon. I just didn't bother to record, and I think this little part I actually recorded kind of encapsulates that, and I'm pretty sure somebody will probably already know what I'm going to say. And that's mainly that it's literally the same thing over and over again. I mean, maybe some slight change in scenery. I mean, this whole entire thing that I even bothered recording was to sort of maybe ask a question, can you tell me what part of the game this came from? I mean, if you're not familiar with each color of bird for each, I guess, area, you would probably not be able to tell the difference at all. And it just continues with that. I mean, yeah, there's some change in enemies. It actually got easier in terms of combat. I sort of thought they would ramp it up, but nope, it got easier by the time I got to Cosmo Canyon. Now, per my usual compulsion to max out everything, I did do all the chocobo gliding challenges. It took a few tries to figure out what was going on and how it actually worked, and it was kind of painful to do. Particularly the last one. That one actually required a little bit of perfection in terms to actually get all the points necessary to get the highest score. I mean, I eventually did it, but it wasn't all that intuitive that in order to get some of these you needed to dive and pull up sharply, and even then you have to dive for so long, otherwise it still doesn't work when you pull up sharply. Anyways, by the time I did all 3 of these courses, and on top of getting probably like 75% of all the intel, I finally made my way to Cosmo Canyon. I should say the town proper, not so much the name of the area, which shares the same name, but whatever. And then when you actually finally approach Cosmo Canyon, you're in for a bit of a surprise, and I'm kind of wondering why they chose to go this route. And it explains a voice that you heard earlier when Aerith and Red 13 were in a room together. I'm just gonna let it play.
Guys, it's me! I'm back! Nanaki? I can't believe it. It really is you. We were so worried. Oh, come on.
And I sort of was like, no wonder you don't use your normal voice. He is exceptionally annoying. He's right up there with Yuffie. Kind of. His dialogue isn't nearly as bad. So I suppose I'll touch on this a little bit, and that's the Queen's Blood challenges again. Pretty much after the Gold Saucer, I did not mess with my deck, and I probably put myself at a severe disadvantage, or I should say, I didn't touch it until I got to the very last match versus the Blood Queen herself, which I'll touch on when I get there. But I will admit that, yes, that deck technically worked, but it took a few tries to actually win. It felt like a luck of draw on my side and I guess the computer side. Like I've stated before, I'm pretty sure they just pull cards out of their butt and play them to screw you over, which happens constantly and very remarkably on for them. But to say the least, I was not a fan of Queen's Blood at all in this game. I mean, there's only one card game in all the Final Fantasies I ever got into, and that was in Final Fantasy VIII. I think I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. And even then, I was actually just kind of annoyed with it. It feels more like a chore than something that I'm enjoying when it comes to playing Queen's Blood. It's just something I have to do in order to platinum the game. And before anyone gets on my case, I'm just going to play this little clip because I'm very much aware of it.
Child like yourself.
I'm not a child anymore. I'm 48.
40 what?
Nanaki here has a long life ahead of him. In human terms, I would say he's about 15 or 16 years old.
That's more.
I see no reason for him to hide his voice. I think they should have just kept the older, deeper voice instead of him doing what he's doing now. I mean, the two times that they had him sort of doing his normal voice, first time was like, eh, and the second time you almost thought he was, having multiple personalities because he turned it off when he thought Aerith was in trouble while in Johnny's hotel back in Costa del Sol. And I see no reason for him to switch back to the deeper voice when he thought she was in trouble. It makes zero sense to me. And then there's planetology. I know a cult when I see one, and this is a cult. I mean, the guy's even condescending. Here, let me just play a little bit for you. And this isn't the only time either, I might add.
2 in the Corel and Gongaga reactors. They were loud and huge.
A fascinating account, were it true.
I mean, you see what I mean? Kind of a bit of an asshole there. Granted, yes, we know as, viewers watching the whole entire thing that, yes, they're telling truth, and I guess I'll throw him a bone that it is coming from first-hand testimony, which is notoriously inaccurate. But his outright dismissal of it is just quite a bit of an asshole thing to do. I mean, instead of sending somebody to these reactors and looking for themselves, nope. Just, nope. Haha. Only if it was true. How? I mean, Tifa even goes to like a group session of sorts, and they share their feelings, even though they were supposed to be like seminars about planetology, which I don't know how any of this has to do with planetology. Like I said, it's more of a cult. I mean, they even have a festival for setting things on fire. I mean, it's a bonfire, not like people, so it's fine in that regards. And I'm not sure how, but Aerith is, I guess, leading it for some odd reason. They don't really explain that at all, but that's what happens. Kind of Disney-esque. It reminds me of Tangled, the Disney movie. At least that particular scene where on her birthday they put all the lanterns out. I don't know if this is a nightly thing or this was just a coincidence they showed up at the right time. They never really explained that in this game. And then there comes the Gi, where they go down that passageway underneath Cosmos Canyon. And then they finally come to the passageway underneath the Cosmos Canyon, where you take Red 8 to go see his petrified father. And they don't exactly explain why you can't use Cloud. I mean, let me rephrase that. They tell him that Cloud can't go with Nanaki or Red 13, whatever name you prefer, and choose Barret for you. No explanation, just, yep, Barret will do. Fine, whatever. It's just, I guess they decided that you needed to use all the characters at some point or another for the main scenario. Although I'm playing on normal at this point, and the Gi aren't all that challenging, I've been playing the challenges on hard, and I am not looking forward to this part when I finally get to hard. Oh, man. Especially the guys with the bows, because they don't miss. Even when you're point blank, they'll turn on a dime and they'll hit you with all those arrows, and if you don't have something to reduce stone or petrification, you're going to be turned into a rock. So, this is another part once you get to the end of it and you have your whole entire emotional moment with Nanaki, with his dad being petrified and technically still alive, which is super messed up, I might add. He's crying. I mean, I guess in a world of magic where you can unpetrify people and heal them, I don't know why they haven't done this for this poor dog cat thing. Holy shit. I mean, it's just super messed up. At least if I'm correct in the terms that, yeah, he's petrified, you can fix it. But anyways, they go into the whole black materia thing and sort of changing its origin. Honestly, I just replayed Final Fantasy VII for a little bit. I went up to the same point the story ends in Rebirth. And I honestly have already forgotten where the black materia even comes from. Okay, after doing a little bit of looking, because it's actually something really missable, because you have to talk to Dio in the 97 PlayStation version, and he'll talk about a black robe figure who was looking for the black materia, versus where it appears here for the first time when you go to, I guess, basically the afterlife for all intents and purposes, or some location technically under Cosmos Canyon, because they do sort of take a boat to get to where they are via the live stream. And they talk about the black materia, which they think will free their souls and allow them to actually die for good instead of lingering on in some form of purgatory. And that's where the black materia comes in Rebirth. So I wanted to mention 2 Feet No Problem, the piano mini game. And this is where their interface that they chose to go with is just absolutely incompetent. It was fine for the other songs because the tempo was slow enough. This one, they throw multiple beats at you. Right now, it's not too bad, but it gets really bad really fast. And it's like whoever designed this is totally unaware of how the human brain and eye works. You can't focus on 2 things at the same time. And they're throwing all these things at you. On top of that, they're analog sticks, I might add, where it's super easy to accidentally hit the wrong note just by accidentally pushing it slightly in the wrong direction. And when you're going this fast, it's super easy to do that. And it's actually not even the worst song of the game. There's 2, I was about to say 2-wing, 1-winged angel, and then they have the battle theme as well. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Luckily, 2 of those songs aren't required to platinum. At least I hope not. I might actually never platinum if that's the case. I mean, personally, if they did, it would be a dick move. And it took a while to get an A on this. It took an hour, and I only did it through pure repetition, knowing where the notes were actually going to hit, instead of being able to, react to it instead of anticipating it. And I guess the last thing I'll cover, because there's just a touch more, but I don't want to keep this over 15 minutes. They have another mini game involving the shrines. I shouldn't say the shrines. I should say shrines that I guess the Sintra used at some point, where you get these tiny little robots and you basically attack a giant slime. Again, I put very little effort into this. Even when it came to the hard stuff, I didn't even have to use a guide for that one. I mean, the hardest one is number 2. I kind of only pulled that off by the seat of my pants, and it kind of took me multiple tries. I mean, it's just another thing, like, the sheer amount of mini games in this isn't, like, I don't find them particularly fun. A lot of them are just, it feels like busy work or filler for no apparent reason. And this one was particularly annoying. I mean, it wasn't the worst, but it just wasn't enjoyable in any particular shape or form. And it's another scenario where the only thing you do is slightly choose where they spawn and which ones, depending on the rules, particularly the budget you have, if they put limits on that. And this one made me angry because I'm like, attack, and like, if you would just attack, and it feels like at times where they get extra hits in while you're sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'll be fine if they attack and there's 2 hits per my 1 attack every time, and it's super infuriating. I mean, it was easy. I did all of them on my first try. Hard, like I said, was a different story, at least for the second one. All the others I think I also did in the first try, and I just basically used the same setup I did for scenario number 4 on normal. Probably not the best way to do it, but it worked for every other one except for 2. And yes, it actually did work for 2, but I had to be super observant and try multiple things multiple times, because they have a set order in which these slimes come out, and that's how I was able to anticipate and beat it. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.